Welcome to Azure at Enterprise series. Today we are going to discuss something about Microsoft Identity Platform, formerly known as Azure Active Directory Developer Platform or AAD v1. We will be seeing how to enable authentication to an Azure App Service web app using the Microsoft Identity Platform. There are many tutorials available on the internet to do the same thing, so why one more? This tutorial is to demonstrate the procedure with minimal configuration settings. Please note that this is not the quickest. For the quickest, please refer to the link provided, which uses the Express configuration mode. The problem with Express setting is that we cannot understand what is going on behind the scene. Sometimes we don't get predictable results when we want to replicate in different environments. Also difficult to debug if we go via Express settings. It would be really great if we have a basic understanding of some concepts to understand better. 1. Basic knowledge about web applications and authentication. 2. Basic knowledge about Azure Web Apps and hosting to Azure. 3. Basic knowledge about Azure Active Directory. This tutorial is divided into 3 phases, and first phase is create and host web application to Azure Web App. The aim of this phase is clear as just hosting a new web application into Azure Web App. After hosting, the web application is expected to be accessible anonymously through the internet by just using its URL. Anonymous means without any login mechanism. We will be using Microsoft Visual Studio 2019 to complete the steps in this phase. It has the capability to create and host web application to Azure as App Service Web App. This phase has multiple steps. The first step, open Visual Studio 2019, then create a new project. In the Create a New Project window, select ASP.NET Web Application, then click on Next, then give the project name, then Next, then select MVC, then Create. It will create a new ASP.NET Web Application. Do some changes to distinguish our application. Let us go to the home page index.cshtml and let us change the heading AAD authentication with minimal settings. Test the application by pressing the run button. It will start a development web server and open the browser pointing to the development server address. Once we feel comfortable, we can publish it to the Azure App Service web app. In order to publish the application to Azure web app, come back to Visual Studio, right click on the project, select the publish option. It will open the publish wizard and we need to pick the publish target first. We'll be selecting app service and select existing. This is because I had already created Azure App Service web app in the Azure portal. It will be showing the currently logged in subscription and the source groups. If you are not logged in, you have to log in into the Azure. It will be filling up the subscription once you have the login process completed. In my case, I have already created AAD app. I am publishing into the AAD app service web app. Depending upon the computer configuration, it will take time. Now the application has been published in this URL aadApp.azurewebsite.net. If we go there, we can see the application. This is a URL which we will be using for configuring into the Azure app registration. Phase 2. Create an Azure AD app registration. This phase will be done in the Azure portal itself. And let us go to the Azure portal and click on Azure Active Directory, then reach to app registrations. This is the place where we'll be creating an app registration for our application. Click new registration. This is a display name, so I am going to give AAD app. Supported account types for the time being, I'm giving only the current directory, single tenant. The tricky part is redirect URI. Here we have to give our web application name suffixed with .auth/login/aad/callback. Now let us register. The next step is to clean up the created AAD registration. So let us go to authentication. Click on the try out the new experience because this will be the by default experience at some point. So let us use that now itself. Here we can see web. Web has redirect URI, logout URI we are omitting for now. That is not required for just authentication. Enable the ID tokens in the implicit grant. This is required. Supported account types is still the single tenant Active Directory only. This means nobody from a different Active Directory tenant can log into the application. Treat as public client can be no. Click save. Let us go to the certificates and secret section. We don't need any certificate or secret for this scenario, so this can be empty. Let us go to API permissions tab. We don't need any API permissions, so we can just remove it. Now let us go to expose an API. Here also it can be empty. Owner just shows who created the app registration. There is nothing to be cleaned in the roles and administrative blade. Manifest is just an JSON representation of the resource. So now we got an clean app registration. Phase 3, enable web app to authenticate via app registration. Previous phases created a publicly accessible web application and app registration. Apart from redirect URI, there is no relation between those two. The web application still works anonymously. This phase is to connect the web application to the app registration so that it will force the users to get authenticated through Azure AD. We need to note down two things to proceed further. First is the application ID of the created app registration. This can be seen in the overview. Click on the copy button to get it copied. Second is the ID of Azure AAD tenant. We need to go to the AAD tenant, then go to the properties to see the directory ID. We need this also to be copied. The first step in this phase is to go to the authentication authorization blade of app service. Turn the app service authentication on. Now select the action to take when the request is not authenticated. It is login with Azure Active Directory. Then click on Azure Active Directory under the authentication providers. Go to the advanced mode. The first thing we need to fill is the client ID. That is the app registration ID what we copied in the previous step. Next is the issuer URL. Copy the tenant ID and prefix it with https login.microsoftonline.com. No need to fill client secret and allowed token audience for this use case. Press OK, then press on save to apply the. It is time to test the application. Make sure the cache is cleared in case it is the same browser instance that opened the page previously. Better open an incognito window and browse the app service web app URL. It will redirect to the Azure AD login page. Enter the credentials of the user who is in the same Active Directory. The user should be inside the same Active Directory tenant because that is the settings we have given earlier. If the credentials are correct, it will redirect to some pages and comes back to our application. We can check the logged in user credentials by going to /.auth/me. We can see the JW token and other details about the user such as email address, surname, given name, IP address and much more. So that is about enabling AAD authentication in Azure Web App. Thanks for watching.